everyone. Welcome back to The Artist Way. I got my pal here with Damian Skinner. I'm
Hey,
Max
hey,
Randolph. Welcome back.
how you
Damian,
doing?
let's talk about anger.
Aren't you so excited to talk about anger?
Hey, me and them, we are close acquainted.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny how much every artist I've ever known really deals with a steady stream of anger. And one of the things that I love about Julia Cameron in this book, it real just I don't mean to jump right in right away, but
Dive
I
in,
love
baby.
how she tells us to embrace anger instead of stop being angry. Yeah.
Which blows my mind because I've heard the complete opposite. I've been trying to create this like zen for my art and my creation, when most of the time I'm like just a volcano.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's there's a reason why she lists it first, and I've actually seen an interview with her where this is one of the areas that she's challenged the most from people. People will really ask her if she, all these years later, if this section really holds up. And I think there's, we can jump into it. We're going to talk about the misconception of anger, not understanding what anger is, but before we go there, I wanted to
Okay.
say sorry to everyone for missing last week. I was stranded out in the desert.
You poor thing, I feel so bad. It was for a crazy maker, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest. It's a family friend who
Oh,
they've been a dear friend for years, and I felt like I really need to help them make this move. It's an 11-hour drive from my house to where they were moving. Um, so from Dallas to El Paso, you forget you can drive 2 days through Texas and never leave Texas. You know,
wild.
Um, but man, we had flats, we had cars coming off of trailers. It was just one of those. Every step of the way took longer. You just kind of have to heads down, kind
Like
of zen
it
out. Yeah.
sounds like a Murphy's Law trip. Like if it can go wrong, it did go
Yep.
wrong.
That's right. So I just basically had to switch into that mindset for like a couple of days. Like
So
whatever.
speaking of anger, no,
Yeah,
throw the
dude.
tire iron across the road.
Yeah, I was definitely having some issues, and the irony was not lost on me that I missed being able to do the chapter that deals with anger while I'm on the side of a desert screaming and yelling waiting for you all to come and pick us up. um, it was rough. So anyway, I apologize to everyone. It wasn't a question of if I couldn't get any form of internet. I literally would have been sitting inside of a broke down U-Haul doing artist way, but I couldn't even get the internet to connect with us. So um, it says not letting me stream today. Huh.
Interesting. Oh,
I
that's a
wonder what that's
shame.
about. So even though we missed a week, how have you been doing? Let's just do like a quick check in with everybody that's on. How are morning pages and artist
Yeah,
dates and things going?
Damien. To be honest with you, I've been slipping a little bit. I feel really guilty. My artist pages have been kind of drying up. I have been feeling. Oh gosh, yeah, I just been feeling kind of thin. Well, I got a lot kind of bearing down on me with work, my art wise. But yeah, I'm like, I feel like I'm running out of things to talk about. I feel like a broken record.
Yep.
I totally missed an artist date, so I feel bad.
Okay. Well, there's no point in feeling bad. I mean, it's your own journey, dude. I mean, it's have you ever been on a vacation of any sort and you wind up just kind of spending several days in a hotel not doing anything? That's that's kind of the way I look at this. Like it's your
Mhm.
vacation, it's your development, and if you have to spend a week or two laying in a fetal position, I mean, you're not offending anyone, you're not hurting anyone, and you're not hurting yourself. You're doing what you need to do.
I like
You know,
that outlook. That's great.
yeah. Don't waste any time or any energy on feeling bad because it's definitely not gonna, you know, assist you in any way. I will say that this is exactly the time where the vast majority of people stop coming to the class, like as a whole. When I do this class in person, this is where we drop down to almost less than half of who's
Mm.
starting. Um, a lot of times people just kind of cut bait and they're gone, and I never see them or I hear from them like a year or two later. The people that will communicate about it, it's always because this is like you swam out to the lake and now you're out in the middle of the lake and you're tired and this sucks, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's an old analogy, but you're already out there, so you can either use the same energy to swim back to where you came from, or just keep swimming. And in your case, if it's too hard to swim, you need to learn how to float for a little bit, man.
Right.
Just namaste out for just a little bit.
I
um
appreciate that. That means a lot. Yeah, because I was getting kind of down on myself, like I was cheating myself somehow. But you're right. Some vacations are best in the hotel room.
no doubt, some of my favorite vacation or getaways, I didn't do a thing. Why? Because I needed to not do a thing. And you in particular, dude, you have a good amount of output. Like, you crank out, you are always in production producing mode. um and my particular creativity, I'm not in that. I don't It's not every single day I'm in my studio, right? Mine is every day I'm working with people on their studio, and then I have to really focus for some project like a feature film or something like that you know so I come into focus and then out of focus, to where people like you are like focused and just producing you know um Let me ask you this. I think this would help anybody watching this. How do you manage constantly knowing that you need to produce? Like, here's all of life, right? Good days, bad days, crazy days. Some days you're sick, sometimes days you're full of energy, all that, blah, blah, blah. How do you continually produce through all of those up and downs?
Oh man, that's the magic question, isn't it? Structure and like gnarly self discipline helped me a lot at the beginning of my
Yep.
whole journey. Like grew up in construction and stuff like that. So I like you clock in now, or you take lunch, and then you go on. And now I've lightened up a lot where I can be a little bit lighter on my feet. Now,
Yeah.
I'm usually juggling a couple projects where if I'm feeling a certain way, that will be a lot more apt to this task
Yeah. Yeah.
than another one.
Yep.
So I'm really glad I started with structure and then I eased off. That I think that helped me a lot. But not, like today was difficult. Like I just got out of the shop. Today was difficult, because I was kind of not enjoying what I was currently working on, but the deadlines are cranking on me. So
Yeah.
it's a tough balance.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing that can steal your joy of creating more than an imposed deadline.
Oh,
And there's most of my artist friends that I talk to don't delineate between commercial art and art. We just call it art, you
right.
know. But commercial, when you are being paid to produce by a certain time, that's a whole new level of mastery that a lot of people burn out in that space. I know I certainly did at times when all of my creative output is being paid for. I noticed my burnout went much faster, or came on much faster. You
That's
know,
on point. Absolutely. I
um,
totally agree with that. Yeah.
the the way that I manage that and manage it to this day is I'll have multiple side projects, goofy personal projects. I want to do something or make something, and my garage and my office space is full, as I've talked about, of projects that are in some form of development. And I want to come back to that, and then we'll jump in here.
Okay.
Not finishing art is a little bit of a trick. Not finishing your personal art. I have anywhere between 3 to 5, maybe 6 projects that are at various stages, right? And when I'm burning out on the deadline stuff, I can walk over and go, you know what? I'm going to finish that cartoon today. Or, you know what? I'm going to throw this whole freaking thing away and not finish it because I don't want to finish it. And I'm completely empowered to do whatever I want. It's my art. I can burn it. I can throw it away. I can finish it. I can gift it. And when I transition back and forth, it's almost like pistons. Like, here's my personal stuff I can do anything with. That empowers me to do other people's stuff, which then makes me want to do personal stuff, which empowers me to do other people's stuff. And if it's all just for everybody, you're burn out. You're going to get toasty really quick.
Yeah, oh, I've definitely experienced that in the past. I actually Dungeons and Dragons is my kind of like total
There you go.
creative just release, just to have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And you probably notice after you've made a board or any of the side projects, right, that we see on YouTube, you might have a little more juice to do some of the other stuff to
It's
get done,
true.
you
It is
know.
true.
So anyone that's watching this, if you are pure commercial output, you're being paid for what you're doing, I really encourage people. I mean, and this is where Artist Way becomes so valuable because we get so caught up in production, right? And quality standards, which is important, that then we forget how to play with art. So you got to have both. And the more professional you become, the more you have to develop and discipline yourself to play, or you
Oh,
burn out as a
buddy,
professional. Does
that
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 make
hits
sense?
deep because art is play,
Yes. Yeah. That's all it
and
is. You know?
that commercial high output, that is pretty much the antithesis of what
Yes.
art actually is. Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
And the irony is people are buying the way that you play, but then we get all serious because it's other people's money, right? Which is important. I'm not saying that's not important. So we lose the very reason that people are drawn to us. People hire you, Max, because of your fantastic vision and the way that you execute things. Well, you learn that by playing.
Yeah.
You didn't learn that by getting all serious. You didn't get online and study how to do fantasy base this and da, da, da. You might have, but that's not what you started out to do. You started out playing. Now people pay you to play so that they can take that. So if you stop with that playful spirit, it's going to dry up. It's going to dry up and you're going to be an angry asshole, basically,
And
which
I never want to be an angry asshole. That sounds
no.
terrible.
No, and I have been a card carrying professional angry asshole. Like, I mean, let me tell you something. There are very few things I've mastered, and being an angry asshole is at the top of the level, man. So let's talk about anger. I mean, I didn't even try to make that transition, but that was
That was
effortless.
seamless,
Yeah.
buddy.
So anyone that's on here and anyone that's watching this, we've all been raised in a world where anger is bad, anger is negative, anger is a weakness, anger is there's always a negative. You very rarely ever hear anybody talk about anger from a positive. But my first question, and this is like a major point that we need to really understand and meditate and live on, there's no such thing as a negative emotion. If you can feel it, it belongs there. So just think about that for a second. Even if we don't go anywhere past this, which we will, but this is the most important thing that we could say today. If you are feeling it, number one, that makes it real. So people can't talk you out of the what you're feeling. That is within your world. And if you're able to feel it, that means you were designed to be able to feel it. There's nothing happening to us that we weren't designed to experience. We just may not want more of it, right?
It's very
But
validating.
well, let's talk about something that seems completely off the point. Hair loss is always a great example I love to give people. If you're someone who, as you get older, your hair is thinning or you're balding or whatever, that is your genetic. You don't like it, but you were designed that way. It's baked in. Now, there's all kinds of external things we can do. Some of them are horrible, like putting on an old school horrible wig and everyone knows it's a wig, all the way over to new science that I don't know anything about. That, I have actor friends who show up with a bigger head of hair than I've ever seen, and it looks very real, right? So there's this whole range of ways to handle something that you don't like, but you were designed to bald. It's
Hmm.
not happening to them, it's coming from within them. It's in their DNA, it's in their genetic heritage, right?
Mhm.
So instead of fighting it and being angry about it and externalizing like somebody's making me bald,
Right.
nobody's making you bald. You're just balding, right? You know, it just is. And anger, shame, embarrassment's a big one for me, dude. These emotions that we would say fall on the negative side of the spectrum, we so demonize them that we forget that they serve a purpose. you know um, Western culture in particular is obsessed with escaping anything that makes us uncomfortable. We're in
Hmm.
pursuit of maximum comfort, right? So we don't want to sit in a hot house, so we get fans and air conditioning. We don't want to do this, so we invent to make ourselves more comfortable. And as a race, as an animal, humans, we are masters at getting out from what makes us feel discomfort. And now we use meds, which I use meds for different things. I'm not against it, but the whole world is now really designed to not feel anything that we don't want to feel.
That's
And
interesting.
we are dopamine addicts. We live in a world where we are addicted to spiking. We can spike that from literally anything, from drugs and caffeine to sex or pornography, all the way over to running. When I said pornography, you pointed to your cup. So
No, it was the
you were talking
caffeine
about
now.
caffeine. I was like, dude,
Easy
you're just
now.
stuff, man. Now's not the time, dude. No.
Oh, also, I have a secret to tell you. This is a wig. No, I'm teasing. I'm
Yeah,
teasing.
yeah. You pull it off. You like, you
Yeah,
son of a
could you
bitch.
imagine the
The
betrayal?
beard and everything comes off as one piece.
Yeah, the beard.
Eyebrows, dude. That would have been epic. Um,
Oh
Sorry, but you know, anger. I want to read a few things that she put in here. All right.
no!
So
Oh,
the
there were
very
some
first,
awesome one-liners.
yeah. I mean, she opens up the chapter. We're in week 3, recovering a sense of power. She opens it with one sentence: "Anger is fuel."
Mm.
Now, most of us have heard anger is fuel. Dig deep. Blood is weakness leaving the body. Kind of like alpha dog workout kind of mindset.
Yeah, that hyper masculine kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Which, if that works for you, that's great. That never, ever, ever worked for me. No matter
Right.
how hard I tried: football, track, weightlifting, martial arts, mixed martial arts. If anything I ever did where people wanted me to just use that anger, I'm like, I got nothing. Like,
I'm out.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm angry that you want me to use the anger, right? It never translated. But what's funny is Julia is telling us to use the anger, and she helps us understand how to use it. It
Hmm.
She literally says that we do everything to escape anger. We will lie about our situation. We will ignore our situation. We will just throw on addictions and dopamine drops all day long. We'll do whatever. And people live their whole life trying to escape their anger instead of using their anger.
Oh
Um,
man, I feel like this is so counterintuitive, but I'm very intrigued because no matter what I do, I cannot shed my anger. I
yeah.
spend a lot of time with anger.
Well, now this is important, and I need to say this from time to time. I'm a
Yeah.
I'm a filmmaker and a guy that works with kids that are struggling with, trauma. So I live in the intersection of artist and therapy, but I am not a trained therapist. I'm not a trained professional, right?
100%.
What I will what I will tell you has been the truth for me and most prolific creators is you are not supposed to get rid of your anger. First of all, it's not even possible. And I gotta share a word picture real quick, something that I think will help this stick in your mind. When one of my very first jobs was a grocery store here in the South called Winn Dixie, very country sounding, and
Sounds like it's the end of a country
I
song.
oh yeah, and I was like 14. It's storming outside, and there's no people coming in because the storm is so bad. And the manager comes up to me and he hands me this huge broom handle, and on the end of it is like a 4 foot long squeegee. And he's like, "Hey, it's flooding up in the front where people come in. I need you to go out there and squeegee away the water." So raining down, spring kind of rain. I'm out there. and I'm just doing a good job, right? This is like my second day to ever have a real job.
Right.
And I'm out there just squeegeeing the hell out of this water. And I squeegee, 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 and I turn around and I squeegee, 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 and I turn around and I squeegee, squeegee, and I'm out there. I am soaking wet. And I look up, and these bastards, there's like six of them standing inside the grocery store laughing their butts off. So I walk in, and the manager takes it from me, and he's like, "Ah, you can't really fight a rainstorm, can you?" And it was just it was a prank,
Right. A little hazing.
a little hazing, right? That is the perfect analogy of saying you're trying to get rid of anger.
Oh,
It ain't gonna happen, dude. You
right.
need to let that go, right? It's Anger is not a problem. Knowing what to do with anger is the problem. You know, the minute I'm a very naturally angry person, and people go, "Oh, there's no such thing." Yes, there is. My my first emotion that I can connect with, lightning fast, is anger.
Yeah.
Just
Visceral.
out of everything. And I'm one of those guys that sometimes my anger even pops in when it's a positive because it's just such a strong emotion.
Yeah.
I can be on a film set and get a shot that I have been seeing in my mind for 10 years. And everybody else will be like, "Yeah." And I'll be over there like I will feel this rage. And it's like a release, like, "Oh," and people are like,
100%.
"Dude, are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm very okay. That was excellent." And you
I just
know,
got walking out.
that's right. And you do, man. You feel that whole chemical set dump into your bloodstream. And um, I've spent 20 years in various types of therapy. And
Yeah.
you know, I can tell you that I do not have an anger problem because I learned what to do with anger. And the most important thing, and this is one of the only chapters where sometimes I just derail from this because it means so much to people. To so I don't want us to be worried about getting everything said today. This is important enough. We need to camp on this for a minute.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and it's interesting too. I'm really relieved because, yeah, as hard as I've ever tried, I could never just move on past my anger. Um, and sometimes it's helped me. Sometimes, most of the time, it's been awful. But that you mentioned, you feel it in your bloodstream, and that
yeah,
was spot on because I feel like this toxin, and it's so fast. It happens before
you
you know it,
release.
and then you just feel this almost like this corrosive toxin that's circulating through your blood, and it
Yeah,
like hurts. But honestly, now that I'm kind of reflecting on it, it's almost just the shame that's attached to it.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just like, oh, I promised myself I wouldn't be angry anymore. It's like, why do I always lose it when I
yeah.
do this? Or it's
Right.
usually at myself. I very rarely
Of
get
course.
angry at somebody else.
Well, and same here. And one of the things that I need everybody to really listen and really believe, if you're going to stick with Artist Way and keep going through this, I think a lot of people have figured out that this is can be a real ass beating. Artist
Yeah,
Way can be a series of just getting hit and hit and hit, and you get like punch drunk after a while, where you're like, "Oh, it's Artist Way. I'm going to get my ass beat today." Yeah, you kind of just show up. Anger is one of the first things that everybody feels. And Julia says here, I'm going to be reading a lot of her stuff today because she has so many great quotes on this chapter. In the recovery of a blocked artist, anger is a sign of health. So when I am watching children go through therapy and I'm participating and doing the things that we do with our nonprofit, um, the scariest thing that you can find is when a kid just sits like this, like just nothing, right?
yeah,
That's when you know a child is deeply, deeply, deeply hurt and wounded. The first thing that happens when they start kind of coming out of that is anger. You don't go from dazed and confused to, "Oh my God, I'm so happy. I'm so." No, the very first step is, why was I even hurt in the first place? You get mad and you get mad at yourself. Kids get mad at themselves because they were abused. Like we turn inwardly. There's just this inherent belief that we are the problem and we are the cause of all of the issues in our life. And that is not the case. It's just not. If you are an artist, and if you're on here, you are, then you are going on some level pretty much every single day of your life. It might be anger in your art, anger in yourself, disappointment, and all these things just kind of bubble up. In the therapy world, anger is called a secondary emotion. It's not, anger doesn't happen out of nowhere. It's a secondary reaction
Mm.
to things that are happening that we feel we can't control, right? So if every week I showed up 10 to 15 minutes late for this class, and you start feeling angry about it because everybody else is on and you're having to do the song and dance and wait for me, and I show up and I got like a beer, I'm like, sorry man, sorry, I forgot, right? That is an appropriate response. You should be feeling angry, you know um that's funny. um Somebody cuts you off in traffic and we beat ourselves up because the first thing we think of is giving them the finger. Well, that's an appropriate response because they scared the shit out of you,
Right.
right? So I would like everyone here to understand that there's a difference between anger and what you do with anger. We are not saying you get to just be angry. I've got kids. If you want to know the fastest way that you got to learn how to manage anger is get around some kids, because you can't blast these little tiny humans off the planet every time they do something wrong, man. You can't. And it just helps you understand you can have anger, you can hold anger, you can release anger. You are in total control. Here's a man who can build, literally, to me, you can build anything. And you're beating yourself up over feeling angry.
Mm.
You might as well tell yourself to stop breathing. I swore I was going to stop breathing, and here I am gasping for breath again. You know,
Yeah.
it Anger is there. It's necessary. Now, people that grew up with a traumatic childhood, which for the record is all of us, just some more than others, right?
Definitely. Definitely.
Anger was one of the first expressions we had as young women and men. It was what we used to identify ourselves, right? Think of your teen angst, teen punk years. F you guys, you don't know me, right? And maybe based on your background, maybe you went that like gothy skater, sub kind of subculture, and that was all angry about something. We don't like where we live. We don't like how we look. We don't like that we have to go to school. We don't like, and there's just this like general assholeness that exudes from us. That is there by design. That is an evolutionary design. There's a gentleman named Andrew Huberman. I've brought him up several times. He's
Yeah.
an incredible, incredible scientist. And he talks about the natural order that if our kids remain super sweet and kind all the way up until 18, they'd never leave the house. We would have an evolutionary breakdown of society. Children are meant to separate so that they can leave. That anger that hits around 13, 12, 13, 14 and stays, it has a design. It's there on purpose. It's to start making these children self-reliant so that they can move on and continue populating the earth. It's evolutionary science.
That's fascinating. I thought it was just hormones, but yeah, it's almost like about that age you start developing your own boundaries.
That's right.
You know.
Yeah. And just remember, hormones are chemicals, and those chemicals have been designed over centuries and centuries to
Oh,
keep
yeah.
us as a growing race, right? So it is hormones, but what's the purpose of the hormones? Why do the
Right.
hormones, when they drop, cause me to push away from my caretakers? Like, that's pretty interesting. It could have done anything, but it's to
Yeah.
get these people out of the house so that they can go out and populate and grow society. It's an evolutionary trait.
Hmm.
And I'm sorry, go ahead. What's that?
No, no. I was just listening.
No.
This is fascinating.
So I want you, Max, to think back to your teen years, right?
Mhm.
Now, tell me where you think you got the idea that you have an anger problem and that you need to manage that anger, because it you probably haven't been to prison for anger management issues that
No,
I know of.
luckily.
So, where did you get this idea? You got it in your teen years when your parents and other people are going, "Hey, asshole, why are you being so rude?" Everyone told you as a teenager that you were being angry.
Mm,
And as a young man, you're angry. You need to handle that anger. They were right. But we took that to mean that all of anger is negative.
right.
I mean, what were you like, Max? I tried picturing you as a teenager. Were
I
you
I went through one hell of a metamorphosis, my friend.
okay?
Yeah, in high school, I was in football for like 10 years. I lived for it because I get because I spent a lot of time as a young boy very afraid of eh, people in my life,
Yeah,
and that was a time where I was like, ooh, I get to like put on the mantle,
that's
and
right.
now I get to be really scary, and I can hurt people. This is great, and luckily that's not a trait that I have anymore. But I really enjoyed being scary. I felt safe if I was
Yeah,
the scary one. Not that I was a bully, but I was just kind of a force,
yeah,
and I was just always welding, and I was always creating, and just kind of a spectacle.
yeah. Well, did you, looking back on it, would you say that you created a persona and stepped into that persona? Like,
Definitely, definitely.
because I was super scared as a kid, you know, similar. I was afraid to be in the house. I was afraid to go to sleep at night. I was always right. And then I went through something similar where I noticed as I got older, if I could puff up and flex a little bit,
Yeah.
and then those few times where I kind of got back at somebody, I remember the empowerment that I felt from that, where I was like, oh, and we can see why some people stay on that path because it's the only place where they feel safe.
Isn't that bizarre?
Anger is one of our greatest tools. Now, I'm a I'm a hippie dude. I burn incense. I read Ram Dass material. I'm all about be here now, mindfulness, and love. And I will whoop your ass if I'm pushed too far. And that is confusing to people, right? It's kind of more of the old mindset that you want to be a warrior in a garden versus a
Right.
gardener in a war kind of mindset. And I really do want to say that I think as we transition and find ourselves, I don't know if this is more true for men or women or whatever. I only know my experience. Um, Feeling like we can be dangerous helps us be peaceful.
Yeah.
Feeling like I can put you down made me never want to put someone down.
Mm.
But before I learned how to fight whatever your thing was, I was petrified. Therefore, I was always angry because I was sick of being scared all the time.
That
And
is that is on point.
okay, so if we're drilling in the right place, I want everyone to just take a minute, just kind of take a beat and think about when you get angry. There are different ways that we get angry. There's stimulus that happens, the guy cuts us off in traffic, right? Um, Most of us aren't angry just because who does he think he is? We're angry because it startled us and we could have died. It's
Right.
a it's a primal thing again that kicks in, right? But the anger that happens at ourselves, not keeping a commitment, not following through, not doing this. It's a long list of things that we judge ourselves by that make us angry. It doesn't make us sad. How come we don't feel sad when we wake up and decide to not work out?
Right.
I don't. I just talk shit to myself like, dude, you're so lazy, man. What? But I'm not sad. I'm not consoling myself. I'm not loving myself. I'm just telling myself I'm a loser and I don't keep my commitments.
Right.
And there's a reason for that. And the anger factor here, she says something I love so much. Anger is meant to be acted upon, it is not meant to be acted out.
Oh, like that. I mean, whoa, that's
Right.
huge.
Right. There's the difference. There's the difference. Anger is not meant to be ignored. It's very dangerous to ignore anger. You will
Right.
get sick. You will get mentally sick by ignoring anger. But you don't want to turn around and slap the shit out of someone either.
No.
Right? Like we act like there's these two options: massive
Right.
abuse of society or nothing, you know? So let's talk about acting upon it. There's a few things that she says here. Anger is a tool, not a master. So if you have uncontrollable anger, people you love, if you take it out on people, if you yell at your children, if you use cuss words and you curse it, and you then yes, you have an anger issue. You have an anger problem. That's because you don't know how to use it. It's
Mm.
not because anger is wrong. If you feel anger and you will just stop, Max. This is we were never taught to do this. When you feel an emotion, especially a negative one, if you will just stop and think and ask yourself, why am I feeling angry? You will get an instant, loud, screaming answer. You, you don't have to dig. You don't have to sit around and ponder and meditate and I wonder why. You don't have to read more books. You don't have to go to more therapy. You go to a therapist, they're just going to help you understand why you're angry.
Right.
The problem is we are so afraid to feel, Max. We are so intimidated of our feelings
Right.
that the minute we feel something negative, sorrow, depression, anger, oh God, we like freak out. We shove it down, we hide it, we drink it away, we smoke it away, we do whatever we can because we don't want to be a grown adult with an anger problem. It's embarrassing.
Well, it's so looked down upon in our
Yeah.
West, kind of very Western culture.
Yeah.
Well, and like
It,
it happened today. So I got angry today, and it's
okay.
always around my work. Like the guy cuts me off. Is like, yeah, this idiot. He could have
Right.
killed us all.
Yep. Yep.
And I'll definitely lose my temper, but I don't know. Like my hottest temper comes from my work. Like today, I was there's something called a dog, not copper dog, but
And I was like, yeah, I know what a dog is.
yeah, it's called a dog. It's pretty much a spring that goes into one of your hardy or your pritchard hole, and it's a hold down. And I was holding something very awkward down that didn't want to like be secure, and it's a spring, so you hit it real good, and it locks everything in place and holds it down almost like a vice.
Yeah.
And I was working with it, and I had heat going, so that time was of the essence. And I came to this spot where my dog was just not grabbing, wasn't biting. My dog wasn't biting, right? And there was just this moment where all of a sudden the kettle just boils over. Went from like like lukewarm water to just a grease fire all of a
Yeah.
sudden. And
Yep.
it's so hard to catch it.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of dents in my shop where I've like just thrown hammers and
Yep.
and I hate that. Like then after that, I feel super guilty because once you come down, you feel awful.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know. So I actually wrote it down, is stop and think of why you're angry. Do I need to adjust? Do I need to make a new tool
Right.
to perhaps solve this issue a little bit better
Yeah.
when it comes to my
Or
work? So this maybe doesn't
or
happen again.
what is that anger showing you that you think of yourself? So let me ask you, you got a broken dog, right? It's not biting. What does that have to do with you? Did you break it?
No, it's just an
Did
awkward
you
situation.
assemble it wrong? I mean, I'm not being sarcastic. I don't know. Is there what could you have done to have been to blame for?
I mean, I could build a perfect built tool just for that one situation, that one in a million situation. Sure, like in that
Okay.
instance, I could blame myself, but honestly, it was just a situation.
Yeah. Like a lot of times when I get there, I'll hear things like, "This is because you're not good.
Yeah.
You're a hack." Like, this hack term I got from my dad. I've mentioned in
Oh,
other classes.
yeah.
So in that case, I'd be sitting there with it falling apart, and it would be a way that I know that I'm not good.
Yeah.
This is falling apart because I don't know how to use this tool. Or if I was just a little bit better, had I had more practice, had I bought the right tool, like I just start deteriorating on myself. You used the term corrosive earlier. It's like an acid, and it
Yes.
just starts baking out everything in your being. And you lose all sense of value. You lose all value. So now let's look at anger in a different light. I'm sitting here cranking on this thing. It's not working. It's not working. You feel the temperature rising. You're getting frustrated. It starts with a golly gee, and then it ends with a
Gee
sweet
willikers.
mother, And why are you bursting? The reason you're bursting, the reason you're chucking a hammer like Thor across the shop, but it doesn't come back,
Yeah.
is it doesn't come back is because your psychology cannot handle what it's being put in right now. You're holding it in a position. You suck, you suck, you suck.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, you suck. You're horrible. Oh my God. And it's an instant
Exactly.
release. It is pure animal instinct that when you are feeling like crap, you need to run. You need to do something. Now, I had I had a significant anger problem. I was that guy in my 20s and part of my 30s. I was putting holes in the wall. I would go blind. I would literally headbutt the wall. Just
Yeah.
to make me so mad and like I'm not that kind of guy. And it would freak people out. People are like, "What is wrong with you?"
Yeah.
Long
Where'd that
story
come
short,
from?
it was I'm sitting here with a therapist talking to him about I'm afraid I'm going to hurt somebody someday. I've got all these things, and they're just sitting there listening to you as they do. And he said, "Well, I would encourage you to get something that you can just beat the living crap out of." And I did this. I went out and bought a tractor tire. I put it in my backyard at the time, and I went and I bought a $30 sledgehammer from Lowe's.
Hmm.
And I would go out there and literally just this tire until I would almost collapse, like barely able to breathe. And then I would come back in and I would sit there and I would have a release of emotion. A lot of times I would start crying uncontrollably.
Oh, it's
And
huge emotions.
yes, and all this time went by, and this person said to me, this therapist was like, "Look, there's going to come a day in human evolution where we understand our chemicals, but right now we're not there.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with you other than you have an excessive amount of chemicals that are dumping into you from frustration, from rage, and those are meant to make you run for safety. But you live in a society where you can't just take off running from a dinosaur. It's just all in your head. It's all theater in your head, so it just gets bogged down and toxic. Go beat
Right.
the shit out of something."
And it's interesting. So, Grace, I've been looking at the comments. You guys are amazing. It's been
Yeah.
awesome just seeing the input, and we're definitely coming from a male's perspective because
Yeah.
that's who we are. And Grace brings up a great point about how um, did a lot of people have to internalize that anger because they're not allowed to act out like we can.
Right. Yeah, but I see I love that. Now I'm seeing the comments. Absolutely.
Hmm.
But I think that that goes even more to part of the problem.
Yeah.
You know, any time that part of your conversation is I'm not supposed to, something's gone wrong, right? And how society teaches, I watch them deal with society explaining how women are supposed to be. You know, um Humans, let's go a level
Perfect.
below, just straight human species, fight or flight. Now we've got a couple of new ones that they've added, fawn and some other reactions, but the old school fight or flight, when you are mad at yourself, when you smash your hand with a hammer, when you are internal, when somebody has taken advantage of you, and dang it, somebody is, somebody got the best of me again, somebody used me again, whatever it might be, a bad breakup or whatever. If you are thinking, here's my life experience, and now I have to squeeze it through the way I'm supposed to act, you are dealing with a toxic structure.
Mm,
As
yeah,
a human, regardless of the next step, which is male, female, or whatever, however we want to explain that, just as a
sure.
human on this planet, you have the right to hold and accept your feelings. And if we cannot let ourselves be angry, we cannot ever fully understand love. You can not be a person of love if you are scared of anger. You can't. And what
Woo!
do? I want to be loving. I want to be loving. I want to be loving. Son of a bitch, I want to be loving. And we get so angry that we want to be so loving.
Right.
And then we think there's just something broke with us. No, it's the structure that we are living in. Please, 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 everyone, always remember you are a you are living in a what I call I've heard people call it a biodegradable spacesuit. We inherited a body. I am a spirit having a physical experience. I am not a body having a spiritual experience. This is my suitcase.
Right.
That's it. My suitcase came with certain things, certain features, wheels, the little handle, the other handle, a little name tag that I don't ever use, maybe a lock. It came with all of these things. Your chemical set came to you pre-packaged, pre-developed for survival. Survival. So if you are listening to this, and I'm always telling people, listen to your voice, what you're hearing, the resistance that can kick in. If you're instantly talking about how I'm supposed to be, then you are still struggling with what you are.
Mm.
You are a
Oh,
human full of chemicals. When you experience things, those chemicals are released and they make you need to take certain actions. It was designed that way. That's why you are here. We would not be here on this planet if we did not have that hardwired into us. So, anyone, Max, you, me, females, children, elderly, anyone that is resisting anger, they are forcing themselves to live outside of balance. Anger is just as valid of an emotion as love. You just are so scared of it, you're not learning from it.
fascinating. Yeah, because it requires the full spectrum, right, to truly have the whole human experience.
Right. Now, what does this have to do with art?
Right.
Everything. Everything. At the end of the day, as an artist, we are expressing and communicating the human experience. That's what art is. It's showing the human experience. It's giving consciousness a voice. It's sharing our heart and our emotions. Now, you're telling me that you could build this tree or these Valhalla doors if I took half of your tool set?
Oh, I see. I see where you're going with this
So
now.
you
For
can
real,
you can
yeah.
have the anvil because that's safe, but you can't have the hammer. Please deliver to me on the 15th.
Right. It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't.
Takes
It
that
doesn't.
full spectrum.
It doesn't. And I respect the world that we live in. But guys, I think everybody on here from all around the world will agree that what society has been telling us we need to do is all bogus anyway. It's all BS. Now, maybe you don't have enough of that punk in you like I do, but I got a hefty punk streak. I will tell any form of, structure to go to hell in a
Yeah.
heartbeat, because I don't trust it a lot of
Mm.
times. So maybe as an artist, some of us are struggling because we haven't learned how to get nice and fucking angry about our art.
Ooh, I like that.
Just maybe. Now, I'm not talking about taking it out on people. I'm not talking about, but if you're running a little low on your morning pages and you feel like you're saying the same thing over and over, you're going to hate this part, Max. I used you as a setup. It's because you're only sourcing part of your heart. this whole other part's going, "What are you doing, dude? What are you doing?" I've got a voice. You think Max's anger doesn't have something to say in the morning?
Oh God, you're right. Quit being right, Damien.
It's not me. It's the book. It's the
Damn
book.
it. It's the
Li-
book.
Listen to this. Anger is a tool, not a master. Sloth, apathy. I love that term, sloth. Sloth,
Mm,
apathy, and despair are the enemy. Anger is never the enemy. Anger is not the enemy. Anger is a tool. And it's a tool that most of us are afraid to use. I saw somebody mention it's passion. Whatever happened to the idea that artists are passionate people? Now artists are supposed to be these like put together. This is part of the problem with the influencer vibe that we live in today. It's fake.
yeah.
It's fake. Now I'm talking to artists as like a manager and as a marketer because everything has to fit in to make money. And I'm taking your creative expression of the human experience and I'm trying to give it the Kardashian vibe.
Right.
And now mind your, mind this, be careful of this, don't say that, that's offensive, you're going to get canceled, you're going to get this, you're going to get that. Next thing you know, you're standing on the head of a little needle trying to create, and that will
With like
make you
three
angry.
tools.
That's right, dude. I am asking for some of you this week to do something that a lot of times people will come back and tell me they haven't done this since they were kids. Get angry. Let yourself get angry. All right?
Woo.
Not at people,
Of course.
not at anything, but when you get angry, listen to the voices in your head. What is it screaming? It's going to scream something at you when you're angry, and that is the fastest way. We could pitch this whole book if you will just listen. Ruh-roh, if
Yeah.
you will just listen when you're angry, stop the BS. Stop trying to be the nice guy. Stop trying to turn everything into little house on the prairie. Everything's cute. Everything is not cute. There's not a single movie that you've ever liked that had that plot. That would be the most boring ass movie that you've ever seen. Let's take Lord of the Rings,
Ooh.
but it's no anger, no revenge, there's no story. It's just as important as the love and the friendship and the camaraderie, but we're scared
Wow.
of it. We're scared of it.
Dude, I'm really this is actually really mind blowing for me because anger has been the biggest hurdle for me in my whole life.
Right.
And pretty much just anger at myself. But it's so interesting because you mentioned okay, so you mentioned yeah, like you'd go out and you'd hammer the shit out of that tire, and then you would just be like flooded with this huge come down, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You're just now ashes after you just burned super hot. You're in
Yes.
tears.
Yeah.
Um, that I totally relate to that because of like the shame of being angry. I'm like, I thought I was better than this. But you're
Yeah.
right. I mean, some of my greatest pieces were from anger, from hurt, the ugly stuff,
No, of
the
course.
dirty stuff. You know?
Yeah. Well, and the whole book talks about the reason we don't create because we're afraid that we're going to fall into some of these like stereotypes,
Right.
right? So I've met people who are afraid to create because they think they're going to become a drug addict because all artists are drug addicts, right? I've met people who are like, oh, I'm going to become promiscuous and like a pervert. Why? Because all artists are perverts. Like, there's a weird thing. What it
Yeah.
actually is let's think about the artists we knew when we were kids growing up. The artists that we knew, even if it was like a neighborhood artist or whatever, it was typically an art teacher. It was typically a parent who's in our life to teach us how to basically finger paint or how to collage or whatever. But they weren't artists that were out there just from their own soul creating art. That's not what we grew up around. We grew up
No.
around instruction of art. But you get around artists that are creating, they're manic people. And that manic nature is what sets apart artists, creatives. If you cannot be comfortable with the full spectrum of the human experience, then what are you creating for? That's what art is to give a voice to the whole human experience. So if you were abused as a kid, you need to use that abuse not only to help people, to reach people, but it releases it. Now, uh, I'd like to ask you, Max, can we go like a little bit longer today, like an extra 10, 15 minutes? Because these
You got it.
comments, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
we got to get to these comments.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely,
I,
definitely, definitely.
okay. Some of the comments that I've seen that I breaks my heart. I've said it a million times myself. I'm tired of being angry. I used to say I'm tired of being tired. Like
Hmm.
the the word tired is fascinating when a human says I'm just tired of whatever. It's such a feeling that we just want to drop. Think about that.
Yeah,
You're so tired, you just want to lay down. Oh God, you just well, what is it? What is it that's on us that's making our soul so heavy that we're that tired? Chances are 90% of the time it's because you're not letting yourself be angry. So you're angry
angry.
all the time because you're not letting yourself be angry. Once
Wow.
once I started saying, you know what, I tell my wife, you know what, I'm pissed. I need a moment. And that moment is not for me to go get unpissed. That moment is for me to go be pissed. I am going to be right here anger.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to hurt myself. I also used to deal with some real self harm and things, and that's come up in Discord a good amount.
Yeah.
This is all part of that. This is all part of that. I used to really be big into burning myself and cutting myself and things like that.
Oh,
When
buddy.
I see those scars to this day, what I look at that is not weakness, is not anything other than I didn't know what to do with the rage.
Yeah.
And it just
Yeah.
kind of spills out of you. So if you're tired of being angry, try it's counterintuitive because of the way we were raised.
Right.
But try being angry.
Would
Stop
you?
telling yourself you're not supposed to be angry. You got a little kid in there that just got slapped in the face and we're telling little Johnny, little Susie, suck it up. That didn't hurt. Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yes, it did. And we need to be angry about it. And when you sit with your anger, you release your anger. It serves you. It it's not anything to be scared of. Again, my favorite quote from Joseph Campbell. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek.
You got to quit it with the
It's it's good.
dropping the good hammers on. Damn. Woo.
So let's just take a pause and look. You there?
Yeah. Oh, you
Sorry, I almost
disappeared for a
lost you for a
second.
second. That was
What'd you
me.
touch?
Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
getting the
great.
feels.
100% right in the feels. Yeah, and placebo, it's wild how, especially as creatives, because we got something bubbling in us, right? There's been something going on that has led us here,
Yes.
and that full spectrum. I mean, you're right. Like, why would I? How could I possibly create things with half of my tools?
Right. Yeah. And
Man,
there's a holistic approach that other cultures grew up with. When
really?
I've taught this in other countries, and a lot of times people are like, "Yeah, and
Duh.
like,
Yeah.
well, okay, big revelation, But typically, my American audience is like, "Holy crap!" Because we were raised, especially females, were raised to, you know, keep it all together, decorum.
Yeah.
Someone hurts you, maybe you are going to give them some little pithy comeback, but you're good. I find all that to be toxic. And what I have learned is letting people know, hey, I'm getting upset.
Yeah.
I'm now mad. I'm going to need some time to sit with this. Everyone thinks that means I go in a corner and I like breathe to calm myself down. No, I go somewhere and I write. For me, I write, and I write a hateful, mean ass letter. Just son of a. I mean, dude, my hand is cramped by the first paragraph. It's just, you know,
Yeah.
and then I feel better because I released it. And one of the great things I was taught was to speak to my emotions. Speak to your emotions.
Okay.
Look
Now,
at it this way: you're sitting at a table. This is used in therapy a lot. You're sitting at a conference room table, and that table is full of people. It's a board. It's your board meeting. It's the max board meeting, right? You're at
uh-huh.
the head of the table. You're the CEO. Now, anger is sitting there, love is sitting there, kindness, compassion, empathy, regret, they're all sitting there.
It's kind of like Inside Out.
That yes, yes.
I
That
love
movie
that
was
movie. It was
prolific.
so good.
That movie was prolific.
Yeah.
And for me, instead of going, I'm not mad, I'm not mad, I'm not mad, I am angry. I accept that I'm angry. I appreciate that I'm angry. And then as I calm down, I release the anger. I literally talk to that member and I go, hey, thank you. I think I got what I needed from that. I'm feeling better. We can move past this. I externalize it as a person trying to help me.
This is fascinating. And I feel like this journey is highly individualistic.
Yes.
Like because me, like I'm not a writer. You're a writer, but I will get more pissed the longer I write.
Yeah.
So I need to really, I'm going to do a lot of reflection after this, thinking of what do I need to do? I think getting away from usually happens when I'm working.
Yeah.
I need to get away. I need to take a walk. I think walking and maybe talking to myself is going to be the key. I'm going to try that.
Well, someone just made a comment about they take a walk in the forest and
I
listen to
saw that.
birds. Here's what's interesting. Depending on the person, if I am enraged and angry, birds piss me off. Like trees, I'll be like, "What the fuck?" Like, man, these trees. There's
What
a
about
there's
these
a
trees?
right out here just blowing in the wind, not contributing to life. Right, like you get this like weird, you know. Um, not everybody deals. My anger sends me cynical. My anger,
Interesting.
and you'll start hearing things like, "Shut up, Robin." You start hearing things like, "Of course this happened to me." Of course.
Mm,
Of course. If anybody's going to break this, it would be me, right? And I'm so glad they said that. Dude, that's awesome synchronicity, Katrina. That's exactly where I was going with it. It is your inner child. It is that little kid inside of you throwing a temper tantrum. And we act so immature when we get angry, right?
oh, terribly. I feel like a
That's why
little
it's
kid.
embarrassing. You hope to God nobody saw you act like an idiot. And then your loved ones see it and you're like, oh my God.
Oh, it's the
You know?
worst. It's the worst.
Yes.
I'm sure some of my neighbors are like, "Oh,
Oh
uh-oh."
yeah. Yep. Yep. So that also lends to imposter syndrome, which we can talk more about later, where if everybody really knew who I was, kind of mindset. But for time's sake, I mean, I probably should have warned you, Max. I knew that we weren't going to go very far on this chapter because anger is such a doozy, man. You
Well,
know, um,
it's such a big emotion, and I mean, like, and to harness anger and how to use it as a tool. I feel like that's like one of the biggest subjects I can imagine.
yeah. And I wish more people could just let themselves cry. I really do.
Yeah,
I wish more people could just sit down and just be upset. And what I've learned is those people tend to have a little bit more of a balanced worldview where they can just be okay being upset or be okay being sad. But
yeah.
most people really cannot be okay with their emotions. And that's a big part of the journey. All the emotions that we're resisting, remember, they're not a negative emotion. You just don't like the way they feel, right?
Oof. Yeah.
But there is no such thing as a negative emotion. I mean, dread is not a negative emotion. Regret is not these aren't. It's the story that we give it that
Mm.
gives it a negative emotion. So let me end with this kind of analogy.
Whew.
When I had my first daughter, who's now 16, when she was little, every time she'd get upset, it was my job to make her happy. So, oh, honey, no, no, no. You'd help her up. She's crying. She's upset. A toy broke. As a new parent, I thought my goal was to fix the toy, replace the toy, whatever, make her happy.
Right.
Second kid came along. I'm like, this is an ungodly amount of work. Like, I can't sustain this. Third kid comes along, who's now 8. And what I learned, especially when he was younger, is if he falls, he hurts himself, he gets up. If I go, stop crying, you're creating all kinds of issues in that kid, which I never did that anyway. That's crazy. But
Yeah.
just as toxic is if I'm like, well, look on the bright side. Oh, it could have been worse. Everything we try to do to get everyone just to be okay, just be okay. We don't want to deal with this.
Right.
That's what we have to stop. Now, if I look at my son and I hug him and I wipe away the tears and maybe a little blood from a scratch or something, I'm like, dude, that sucked. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I saw the whole thing. That sucks. And they'll be like, yeah, it does suck. A minute or 2 minutes later, they're fine.
We should
They're
create
fine.
space for those big emotions.
Yes, just be angry.
Yeah.
What she says, anger is not action itself. It is action's invitation. When you feel angry, you're being invited. When you feel anger, Max, today, when you felt angry, you were being invited to learn something about yourself that you weren't ready to learn.
Wow. This
That's
is
it,
heavy
man.
duty.
It it's heavy, it's easier said than done, but by the comments that have been going by, look, we all get angry, but ask yourself why there's this mention of anger this early in this book.
Mm.
It's in here this early because it will prevent you from doing everything else that this book is about. Anger will keep you from creating, plain and simple,
Wow.
unless you use it. Unless you use it. And then you'll create prolifically and you'll feel better and you'll express to the world how to manage their anger. You know,
Yeah.
we need to view anger as an invitation to learn something about ourselves. And who wants to do that when we're angry? No one. Nobody. Nobody's mad and is like, I think this is a good chance to learn about myself. Like,
I know. That's why I'm like, oh, this is going to be a challenge. This is going to require a whole new skill set that I don't have yet.
that's
To
right.
catch it right at that
That's right.
grease fire explosion.
But look at the skill set that you do have that's
Mhm.
replacing it right now because you learned that one too. And if you can
Right.
learn that one, you can learn this one.
Ooh.
Your strength right now that has served you is to ignore and try to get over anger. Just get over it. Get over it. I'd be a bigger person, be a bigger man, be more mature.
Right.
Just get over it. That's that. We don't want to deal with this shit. It's messy,
Yeah.
right? Sit in it. You don't have to stop the explosion at first. Go ahead, throw your hammer, scream, yell, create new cuss words like I do. But that explosion will start getting smaller and smaller and smaller. The first time a volcano erupts, but
Right.
after a few years, in theory, the explosion is not as massive. So
Damien, you
it's just
rascal.
skills. It's skills, brother. And if you have
Wow.
all these other skills, you can develop this one.
This is excellent. Also, I'm gonna challenge myself, and then next time I'm angry, I'm thinking about maybe trying to craft and create angry. I don't
Yeah.
know. Is that a bad idea? I don't
No,
know.
hell no, man. That's a great idea. I think it'd
Like,
be awesome if you had something you just beat the hell out of and turn it
yeah,
into
like
something.
just yeah, the sacrificial. Like, I'll take 2-inch bar, something I just
Yeah.
but it'll take time to get it hot. By that time, I'll probably cool down. So I'll have to figure something else out.
If there's something, if you could have like a rage wall that you could just go over and beat the hell out of something and then later turn it into something. I mean, what's more beautiful than that? You
I know
know?
I need to think of stuff. I wanna create angry. That'll be a fascinating journey.
Well, this person here just said that they've always thought about create painting when they're angry.
Mm.
Here's a great point. Have you ever seen a movie about an artist where they didn't have addictions and anger problems? They just sat around. It's Bob Ross. There was one man named Bob Ross. The rest of us create through anger and rage and intimidation. It is fuel. It's
It's true.
fuel, but because we're good people, Max, you see yourself as a good man. You want to be a good man.
Want to be.
So the first thing that you get rid of is acting out of anger. But
Right.
again, we're not talking about just taking action. We're talking about breathing through it, looking at it. So here's the challenge for this week. You know,
Okay.
there's a whole chapter that we didn't even get to. There's all these exercises, but like I've been saying in every class, our point of coming together is to really talk about what's making the most impact in everybody's life, not just cover the whole chapter, right?
Yeah.
So everybody should read the chapter, everyone should choose some of the exercises to do, but the main challenge this week is just when you get angry, tell yourself it's okay to be angry. I'm not telling you to stop being angry. That's ludicrous. I'm
Yep.
not telling you to shorten it. It's just okay. Just be present. Just close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and just feel angry.
Yeah, this
Allow
is
the
incredible.
anger, and it will dissolve almost instantly when you provide a place for it.
Yeah. You're
When
allowed to feel it.
Yeah, but when you are ignoring it, it will chase you the rest of your life.
You know what it feels like? Like you're standing at the foot of a dam and you got bubble gum and you're clogging the holes and more just keep popping up and pressure's building.
Yep. Well,
Wow. This is
this
this is super significant. I mean, like, and I hope you watching this either right now, participating with us right now, or 5 years in the future. Who knows? I just hope that you're experiencing this too, because I'm really excited for the next time I get angry.
Yeah, which won't be long.
No, of course not. I'm
That's the
super
beauty
stressed.
of it. That's the beauty of it. I mean, think of how often you get angry, how often it's knocking at your door to show you something. It's just going to keep coming to you and coming to you and coming to you. It's your friend. It's here to save your life.
Yeah,
So, just to be clear, the challenge is when you feel angry, listen to your head, listen to the words, the voice. Oh my God, I'm so immature. I'm all this. Just allow yourself, tell yourself it's okay. I'm angry, I'm pissed, and that's all right. And watch how fast that anger starts to dissipate.
whew. This is awesome, buddy.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And
And
also,
you
thank
know,
you to everyone that's been participating. It's been awesome. I've
awesome.
been loving reading all of the live chats. I mean, this is great.
Yeah, it is. And there's so much I have so much compassion and empathy for all of these comments because
Yeah,
I'm saying the same thing. Remember, we're not saying we're going to master anger. We're saying that we are accepting that there is nothing to master. It is our friend and it serves a purpose.
right.
And it totally can motivate you to knock down walls. You can run through barriers. So if you're resisting to anger, but you also have a hard time getting things done, you might need to use your friend anger because a lot of people get things done just out of sheer like piss and vinegar, as my friend
Yeah,
used to say, right?
yeah.
Um,
Okay,
you provide a place. Now, let me end with this. I know we've gone long.
you're
I
fine.
think everyone is figuring out the purpose of this course is to turn your soul into Swiss cheese. Like literally just punk holes, just every class. It's like just attacking all these different areas. I promise you, this isn't just some sadistic thing. When we get to the end of this, you'll see how it all comes together. Just like any good art, there are times where it looks like crap,
Yeah,
right? Right now, we're entering the crappy phase. of this process where you're like, why am I doing this? Just keep going, keep
Okay.
trusting, participate in what you can. If something doesn't feel good to you, something doesn't feel right, you don't have to do it. There's only one rule to this whole thing, which is be kind to yourself. That's it. And
Awesome.
next couple of weeks are going to get kind of exhausting for everyone. And I'm just encouraging everyone to try to do the the morning pages. Just keep trying. All
Okay.
right.
All right. The chat has got to see the shirt. They're
Oh,
asking
I
for the
just
shirt.
dude, this shirt could not be any better for what we're talking about.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I don't know if you can see. Hang on. I'm a
Yeah, we can
t-shirt
see
guy, so I'm
good.
gonna show you.
Oh
Look at
my
that shirt.
god, that's an amazing shirt.
It's the cave. I bought it because it's the cave I fear to enter.
Too
I
much.
got it yesterday, so I thought I'd wear it today. I'm glad you guys noticed it. It's an awesome shirt.
That's amazing. Oh,
Yeah.
well, what a groundbreaking sesh, buddy. This is amazing. I can't wait to implement this. I'm going to start getting angry and allowing myself to be angry.
Be angry. It's all right. It's all
Oh,
right. Now, our friends might have something to say about it.
of
Some
course.
people might be like, but we could talk more about that later. Right now, it's about you, it's about us being comfortable with what we are, and anger is a very big part of it. I love you, Max. I love everyone that's on here. The community is awesome. So, if Discord, we can continue this conversation all week.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the Discord's been incredible. I've been loving reading all the feedback. Yeah, just Max
Yeah.
Enough Studios. Yeah, and we'll wrap things up. But hey, just huge reminder to everybody watching: be kind to yourself.
Absolutely. It's the most important thing that we could learn is just to be kind to ourselves.
Wonderful, wonderful.
All
Oh,
right.
buddy, thank you for this.
Of course, man. Well, I guess we will pick this up on Discord and keep talking. And everybody,
Absolutely.
thank you for all the comments. It was awesome.
All right, guys, take
All right.
care.
Talk to you soon.